Welcome in, everyone, to episode 16 of the Preferred Experience podcast. Episode 16. Doesn't feel like it's been 16 episodes, but hey, here we are at number 16, Millzer.
Yeah. Incredible, man.
You can see how you're very excited about this.
Hey, you know, at the start of every broadcast of anything we do, I'm not good until about 5 minutes in.
He's like a diesel engine. It takes him a little while to get going, but once he gets going, he can go a long,
Well,
long
I got a lot of buttons I got to push to get this thing going.
That's true. At least 4 that I've seen you push already. But no, absolutely thrilled to be in episode 16. We have a fantastic guest today that I'm introducing in just a minute. But do want to apologize to everybody that we have been on a temporary hiatus from weekly episodes because of football season. But now the football season has come to an early end for us, unfortunately. We're able to do this more regularly. And I know your season is just now ramping up.
Yeah, well, I've just got a couple weeks off here, and then I'll start. Then we'll have the Super 7 over at Auburn this year. I'll be producing for the state network once again for them, for all 7 games, and then I'll kind of shut it on down as far as sports broadcasting until the first of the year, and then we'll pick up with basketball there, and then baseball rolling into the summer.
Absolutely.
It never ends.
You know, it was heartbreaking to see our Lions get cut short of the playoffs this year, but man. What an effort they put toward the end of the season after that first couple losses to Smiths and Dothan, and they got their act together and made a push for it. And hate to see it come short for those kids. They deserve better. We all deserve better. But it is what it is, and we look forward to next season. We're getting ready to reload.
Well, they got to put Mobile and Huntsville teams in, even if they don't belong.
That's a fact. That's true. Unfortunately, that's true. But our guest today is somebody else who can talk sports with the best of them, which really amazes me. I've been around a lot of pastors in my lifetime, and none of them can talk sports quite like this guy. But at the same in the same token, there's not been a pastor that I've been around very very much that knows the scriptures, that knows the Bible, and that loves people quite like this man does. He's Peyton Hill. He is the pastor of First Baptist Church Prattville. Welcome to the Preferred Experience, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It is an honor to have you. I've been saying for months, we got to get this guy on. We got to get this going. But he's the pastor of First Baptist Prattville, the senior pastor, lead pastor, and he's a busy guy. And most people don't understand how busy a pastor can be. But you know, you're still young. You're still what, 36 now?
36.
36, took over the lead pastor of First Baptist Church Prattville at 33 years old, and replacing a man that Dr. Coleman, that had been here for almost 40 years.
So it was 30 years pastor at First Baptist.
30 years pastor, and most people say you don't want to be the guy that replaces the legend. You want to be the guy that replaces the legend. They want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaces the legend. But you stepped into those shoes, and you have done an outstanding job of bringing this church together, unifying a body of believers, and just making everybody kind of shift their gears to more of a mission-focused mindset. Talk about how it was coming into that situation.
Sure. Well, again, thanks for having me. First, I would definitely not say I replace Travis Coleman. He is an absolute legend, not only in our church, but our community. And there's no way that I could step into this role without his encouragement and support and friendship. We live less than a mile from each other. My first year, 2 years, we spent hours and hours drinking coffee, getting lunch, spending time together. A huge supporter of mine, and so I'm so thankful for him. And being able to step into this role, I think there's kind of 2 things that are really helping. One, because Travis led our church so well for so long. I walked into a healthy situation, and so many guys don't do that. So many churches are, because we're full of sinful people, there's a lot of church hurt and brokenness, and so it can be difficult. But thankfully, I stepped into a really healthy situation. And then number 2, I think because he was always waving the flag of encouraging me and encouraging and empowering our church to be on my team, to support me. It's really helped. But yeah, it's hard to be a young pastor and to try to follow someone like that. And so the best thing I know to do is to honor him, because he deserves honor. The Bible says to give honor where honor is due. He deserves honor, and he deserves our praise, absolutely.
100%.
But also just try to make my own path and to realize that God's called me here, and I can't seek to try to be like anyone else or to try to follow anyone else's footsteps. Just want to do what I believe the Lord calls me to do according to the Word.
That's awesome. And also, you talk about having to blaze your own path here. Most people come in with some kind of roadmap. Most pastors, when they got some kind of roadmap, but yours was like just thrown out the window as soon as you got here, because 2 months after you step in, a global pandemic hits, and everything changes. I mean, it's not like you have a roadmap to follow or somebody else's example to follow here. Nobody knew what to do.
Sure.
And you're in a new community. You're still trying to learn names, just basic names, and where streets are. And here we go. We're shutting everything down. I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard. So I began toward the end of August in 2019. So really, got through the holiday season, got through the fall of the holidays, and then COVID hit. And like you said, I'm still learning names. I don't even know where all the Sunday school classrooms in our church are. I don't know different groups. I don't know much of anything about the church when it hit. And so I think the hardest thing for me, Will, is when I came, because our church was so healthy and I was following such an incredible leader like Travis Coleman, I did not want to change anything. I wanted to preach the scriptures and to realize that my youthfulness, my personality, the way I approached the Bible was going to be different enough for our people. And so let that sit for a while. But then COVID hits, and we go online, and then as people try to come back, there are things, we're afraid that we're going to get COVID from money, so we changed the way that we take up an offering, and we got different folks that would help us to lead worship music that didn't feel comfortable coming back, so we had to shift everything about our church life, and so changes had to come, and so I think that was probably the hardest thing, is to see in front of me, we've got to change, we've got to adapt if we want to keep growing and thriving, impacting our community with the gospel, but also doing it in a way that people don't feel like I'm saying that what we've done in the past was not good and was not helpful and was not right. So how do we honor the past while also reaching forward to the future? And so, it's presented challenges for sure, and I will not lie, there have been times that have been really hard and difficult, and without the support of my wife, Jordan Lee, and our kids and friends like you and others in our community, I don't think I would have survived, but really, really thankful that we've kind of gotten through the difficult season and excited for the days ahead.
And not only with the COVID situation that was hitting at the same time, race riots were happening.
Yeah, sure.
BLM was pushing through, and there was a lot of hurt in this community.
Absolutely.
And the pastors of this community banded together in meetings, and you were instrumental in that. Take us through some of that and how this community was able to almost in a way heal itself from hurts that hadn't quite hit us yet, but was hitting on the national scene.
Yeah, sure. Well, like anyone, I was watching the news. I was listening to what was happening around our country, and we were all isolated in our homes, and yet there were these tragic events taking place, and I knew as a white man that there is absolutely no way that I could understand what African Americans in our community may be feeling, nor could I understand the history of our community because I'm not from here.
Right.
So one of the first things I did was call one of my neighbors who happens to be a chaplain at Maxwell Air Force Base and is an African American brother, and just talk to him about how do I process this? How do I think this? Began to call not only my white pastor friends, but also African American pastor friends around the country. How should I be thinking about this? And, I learned pretty quickly that there is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not that all white people think this way and all people of color think this way, that there was a lot of diverse opinions. And so we as pastors in the community just began to get together, pray together, have honest, hard conversations. And, I don't want to blow it out of proportion because I think that we've got a lot of room as pastors and churches in our community to grow in unification. I think that we have not scratched the surface of where we ought to be. But I am thankful to be a part of a brotherhood of men that though we differ on some issues theologically, and we differ on the way our churches are structured, organized, and led, that we were able to come together during a pivotal time and show our community that we're brothers in arms. We do believe in the scriptures. We believe in the gospel. We believe in salvation by grace through faith in Jesus. And I think it was helpful for our community. But I think we need to get back together and do more of that in the days to come.
But even that, in that surge of unity, we saw the church start to kind of bring itself back together.
Sure.
And First Baptist is no exception. I mean, it's a large percentage of churchgoers from Lifeway research that say, they're still at 85% capacity where they were pre-COVID. But we look at our Sunday school numbers and Wednesday night numbers, and we're 110% above that mark. What do you think the difference is? Why are people like flocking back to this so hard when it had become a new habit to do online or just stay away?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. And if I had the answer, I think I would probably be featured in some kind of book, because I would be able to say, hey, everyone do this. But I don't have the answer. I'm not sure. I do think that one thing you need.
Wait a minute. I want to stop right there, because most pastors won't tell you that. I don't know. I'm not.
I have no clue. I really don't know.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So I really don't know. I think one thing that has helped First Baptist Prattville. I cannot speak for every church. I cannot speak for every denomination, every region. I can say for us. Pretty early on in the coming back, we turned our attention away from, I remember the staff meeting when we talked about this. Hey, we've done all that we can. We've done parking lot services. We've offered online services. We've had online prayer meetings. We offered, if you remember, for a season, a ton of services on a Sunday, so everybody could spread out by like 20 pews, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, we were doing all that we could to accommodate people. But as it became very as we became very aware of kind of the situation of COVID, that we kind of reached that point of people are either going to come back or they're not. We shifted our focus away from berating the people that aren't coming and getting frustrated and spending all of our time trying to get the people that aren't coming to come back, and just turn our focus to reaching new people. And what we have seen is over the last year and a half, we have had tons and tons of guests enter into our church facilities on Wednesdays and Sundays. We've really focused on the way that we do outreach. We focus on the way that we do hospitality with guests, on the way that we contact them, the way that we get them plugged into small group Sunday school classes. And though we have seen a lot of people that have been home for a while trickle back in, a lot of our growth and kind of coming back is not reclaiming old people, but getting new people. Right. And so I think that we probably lost more than we realized, but we by God's grace, we've been able to replace a lot of those folks with new people. And so I think there's an excitement with our multi-generational family approach at our church. I mean, we have an incredible student ministry under the leadership of Justin Hall. We have incredible children's and preschool ministries under the leadership of the ladies that direct those ministries. Mm-hmm. And we've got incredible Sunday school teachers that focus on young parents. And we offer, I think, great Bible studies. And I think that because people know that, hey, if you come to First Baptist Prattville, you're going to have a whole family approach. The whole family is going to be able to plug in. I think that's helped us to grow in new families. And I think that's how we've been able to weather some of the storm. Whereas, again, I've got brothers that are working diligently. They're doing the same things we are, and yet they're still struggling. And so I realized that the ultimate answer is, I don't know, but honestly, the Lord's just been really gracious and kind, and we're thankful for it.
And some of the changes you made are subtle and slight, but they just kind of happened and then stuck. Like, there's no offering plates anymore, which I'm like, this is great. Yeah. But what's even better...
I do think that.
I do think that. What's even better than that is there's no more of these heavy, bulky silver communion trays that we have to pass through the rows. I mean, that's
Will, you're trying to get me in trouble.
That's a parent's worst nightmare when that
Yeah.
that juice plate comes by and we got to keep the kid from spilling it.
Yeah.
The
Well,
new way of doing it, I think is awesome.
Okay, so the offering plate thing, that's so funny. I could, if the Lord allowed me to be here for 40 years, before COVID, if you'd asked me the question, I'd be like, yeah, we're going to pass the offering plate forever. Well, when we came back after COVID, I remember we had people from our church that were sending me articles about how you could catch COVID by touching the table where somebody with COVID had touched it. And so we're like, what are we going to do? We got to be able to take up an offering. And though most of our people had switched to online,
right,
there's still an understanding. I totally get this, that, hey, bringing your offering is a way to contribute and be a part of corporate worship. So people like to bring that as a part of their worship. And so we wanted to provide that opportunity in a safe way. Well, over time, as we learned more about COVID, we had already put up these new black boxes to just put your money in.
Mm-hmm.
Our offering had been the greatest offering in the history of our church in 2020. Then we just kept them in 2021. And yet again, the greatest offering in the history of our church, not because of the black boxes, but despite them. It was fine. People were just generous. And so we just kept them and we just did it. The community thing was the same thing. We're like, are people really gonna wear their mask and pass the plate and put their hand and touch everyone else's bread cracker? Like, probably not. Well, now we're able to take communion quicker, and not that we want to do it so quickly, but the quicker we do it, the more often we're able to do it. And I think that when we read scripture, the early church came together often to take the Lord's Supper together. And so we're taking it more frequently. And even though it looks different, I think that we're still having the fruit of the vine, we're still having the bread, and we're still pointing to Jesus's broken body and shed blood for us. And Amen. I think it's a good thing.
My hands would get sweaty just thinking about that tray coming around, trying to keep Caleb from grabbing it,
Yeah.
Just grab one. I got it. I'm going to pass it.
Yeah. The worst is when somebody wasn't paying attention, the elbow caught the plate, and then all the crackers fall, and it's just, yeah.
The crackers falling, we can clean that up.
Yeah.
The juice falling on the old carpet, that's hard.
Sure. But Will, the way that we do it now is you got to open it up.
Right.
And this past couple of weeks ago when we took it at our church, I could not get mine open. And so I had to poke a hole in it and kind of squeeze out the juice.
A communion squeeze.
Yeah. So the way that we're doing it now is not perfect either, but.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up at the large congregation of Booth Methodist Church.
That the Seven Sisters Church?
Yeah. The whole thing about the crackers and we as us, it was like only 3 or 4 kids and kids age in my church about that time. And we'd all sit there and look at the door saying, counting people coming in. I said, okay. That means there's going to be about 7 or 8 extra. So then it was a fight to who gets the extra shot of grape juice.
Because they're using that premium Welch's.
Yeah.
And then we had a preacher come in and replace the crackers with those little dissolving wafers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that didn't go over well.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
They don't have quite the saltiness.
Yeah.
that one does.
Ours is more like styrofoam, honestly. I don't think it's a part of a gluten-free healthy diet.
But in small quantities, I'm sure it's harmless.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Well, you mentioned your wife a minute ago, Jordan Lee Hill, and I think that's one of your most redeeming qualities is you're married to an Auburn lady.
Hey.
A former Miss Auburn, as a matter of fact.
She's going to kill you for saying that, but it's true.
Well, a Mississippi State graduate like yourself, with a degree in biological sciences, is that right?
That's
and
right.
then an MDiv and a PhD from Southeast Baptist Theological Seminary in Wake Forest, right? I researched.
I see that you Googled.
I Googled a little bit. I find out some stuff, but you come into a Mississippi State guy, a hard line Mississippi State Bulldog, by the way.
Hell State.
It comes into an Auburn and Alabama community and tries to pastor these people with this bulldog mentality, and somehow you make it work. But I still go back to last year. Auburn is up 28-3 at halftime over State. We're just mashing them with our coach that shall not be named. And then State comes back and puts 41 straight on us. He shows up Sunday morning Stacy, and he's banging his cowbell from the pulpit, and I thought it was the greatest and worst thing I'd ever seen.
Amen. Amen. Well, here's the thing. All right. I grew up in a household where neither my mom or dad went to Mississippi State or Ole Miss. So I grew up in Mississippi. Mom went to a private college, a private Baptist women's college. And so growing up, I've got pictures of me as a little kid in Ole Miss gear just because, some of the family are Ole Miss fans. But the first game I ever went to was the Mississippi State game, and I heard the cowbells, and I was roped in. So my older brother went to Ole Miss. I went to Mississippi State, and just fell in love with it. I mean, man, I love college baseball, college basketball, college football. If we're playing ping pong and Mississippi State's playing, I want to win. So then I married this Auburn girl, and I really have fallen in love with Auburn. Her family still lives there. Love that community. Love the university. I cheer for Auburn. Jordan Lee will tell you, if I'm watching Auburn play, as long as they're not playing Mississippi State, I'm as passionate as a fan. I get mad at the coaches. I get mad at the refs. But, man, that one Saturday in the fall, whenever you play the Bulldogs, I ring my cowbell pretty loudly. And by the way, you skipped this year.
I wasn't gonna bring that up.
You thought your boy Cadillac was gonna come back, but it didn't happen. So
and honestly, it's the first time they play with any fight in 2 years.
it's true. It's true. Although Cadillac is a passionate guy,
Very passionate.
and it was obvious he had the team pretty fired up. And but when you're facing the Pirate, you got to have a little bit more of the passion.
And I told you this before we came on. I mean, I have a soft space in my heart for Cadillac because we're friends.
Sure, yeah.
Most
close
people-
personal friends.
Yeah, most people don't know this, that myself and Carnell Williams are very good friends because one time we were in school together at Auburn from 99 to 03, and I actually saw him on the concourse walking one day with his friends, and I hollered at him, "Yo, Cadillac!" And he looks at me and nods his head. And from that day on, we've been very close friends in my mind. I told you I didn't go to Tiger Walk to congratulate him on being the head coach because I didn't want to distract him because he would have been thinking about me. And it's not about me; it's about the team.
That's right.
But I love the guy. I love him so much.
Getting back to the Pirate.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Yeah, my as Will knows, every year I do the audio and video work for the Alabama High School Coaches Association's conventions, and it's all the college coaches come in and speak. So I get to talk with them a little bit, hang out with them a little bit, get them get their microphones all set up in their presentations, and so I've got to meet every major coach in the Southeast, and I will say this without a doubt. Mike Leach was the single most exactly what I expected coach I had ever talked to in my life. All these other coaches are just you think they're businesslike. Nah, behind the scenes they're just same old coaches. They're just coaches. Mike Leach acts like Mike Leach 100% of the time, and it's awesome. He is like the nicest guy I ever worked with.
Here's what I've learned about Mike Leach. He's funnier when he's not your team coach.
Yes.
When he's your team's coach and he's making light of a serious situation, it can be a little bit maddening.
Like in the situation last week where he said his team wasn't playing very hard because they're wanting to eat fish sandwiches under a tree and drink lemonade and kiss their fat girlfriend.
Yeah, which was pretty.
It's pretty tame for him.
It was pretty tame for him, but it wasn't a nice thing to say.
As we were meeting him at the car last year when he spoke at the convention, we were meeting at the car because I had to get his laptop from his assistant and all that stuff and get it set up and everything. I just would give anything if I could have just recorded that conversation he had with one of the ladies that worked with the association when she handed him the room service menu to get him something to eat before he went on and spoke. Mm-hmm. The way he broke down each item was just unbelievable.
He's a character. I mean, and here's one thing I'm gonna make a connection that you think is funny. I love how he has like a little sticky note at his display sheet, and he's totally out of the box. He has this little play call sheet.
Yep.
And I love that because when I was in seminary, I was taught a specific way to preach. So you manuscript your sermon, you prepare an outline, you memorize it, that kind of thing. And my brain just doesn't work that way, because if I write something down and then I don't say it, I'm like, I've got low-key anxiety the whole message because I wrote it down and I hadn't said it. So then the opposite is, well, I just keep my eyes on my manuscript the whole time, but then it's like you're delivering a lecture. Nobody wants to hear that. So several years ago, I went to like the sticky note method. So I study all week long. I know what I want to say, but when it comes to writing anything down, I may put something on a sticky note and that's it. And I always felt weird about that. And then I saw Leach doing it. I thought, you know what? If the Pirate can do it,
It's a state thing.
why can't I do it? I know it must be. It must be.
Now, Leach, you love him or hate him. People, it's never like one of the. It's never somewhere in between. People either love Leach or they hate Leach. But do you think he's a long-term solution at State, or is he just here for a little while and then he's gone again?
I think he's here for a little while and gone again. I think
You can't keep a guy like that for long. Short shelf life.
no. I don't know what his next move is. So like, is there really another school who's going to come after him that would be super attractive? I don't think so. So obviously Auburn just took our athletic director, and we're looking for a new one. And I think it's possible that this next year, with all the talent we've got returning, especially if we beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl, and especially if we win our 9th game in the bowl game, we'll be a top 15 team in fall of 23 preseason. If he does really well, I think he's going to stick around another couple. If not, I think he'll be gone.
I think maybe his next job he'd be great at like a Barstool Sports or like an ESPN like Monday Night Football gig, like on the like sideline commentator Mike Leach. That would be priceless to me.
Yeah, I just Mississippi State's hard. It's different than Auburn. Yeah, I mean, obviously way different than Alabama, but different than Auburn too. We can't just go get anyone.
Right.
We're always gonna have to take a chance. So like, whereas I don't think Auburn should go after Dion yet because I don't think he's ready. I think that would be a great hire for Mississippi State. Let's see if he can really do it in the SEC. Let's give him a chance. I don't think that's what Auburn should do. So,
Well, a lot of people think that Kiffin is the next move at Auburn, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. But
No.
but the next move would be Ole Miss goes against Dion. And if there's one place less Dion than Auburn, it would be Oxford, Mississippi.
yeah, I think so.
I don't think he'd have a hard time. There'd be a hard sell for Dion to Ole Miss.
I agree.
Well, we talked about your wife briefly,
Yeah.
but you also have 5 kids,
Count them, 5.
and I don't know if you've heard the rule around here, Peyton, but 6 kids qualifies you for white trash.
I didn't know that.
That is a standing rule. Doesn't mean you are; it means you qualify.
Okay, qualify. Well, it's crazy. My wife, we haven't talked about her enough. She's amazing.
She is.
She's incredible. And when she and I started dating, I mean, I was already out of seminary. She had just graduated from Auburn. We both really took following Jesus seriously. And so pretty early on, we had the kids question. And both of us read the Bible, and it says children are a blessing from the Lord. And we said we want a lot of those. So, yeah, back-to-back kids. We've got 4 girls, 1 boy. Our oldest girl is almost 9. She's 8. Our one boy's 7. Then we got a 5, 3, and 1-year-old girl. And you'll love this, Will. So we were living in Columbus, Ohio at the time. And when our daughter was born, the first thing that we did is we prayed for her. So the first thing she heard was us praying to the Father for her. And then I whispered in her ear and shared the gospel with her. Not that she could hear or understand, but there's just something sweet about that's the first thing she ever heard. The
awesome.
message of what Christ did. Then Jordan Lee took one ear, I took the other, because we couldn't decide who gets to sing the fight song first. So she sang War Eagle, Fly Down the Field. I sang Held Darrell State in our daughter's ear at the same time. Then our son was born, and I told Jordan Lee, I said, hey, I got a deal, all right? You take the girls, you buy them orange and blue, you raise them up to love the Tigers. I will never do anything to try to discourage that, but let me take the boys, maroon and white, Hell State all day. She agreed to it. And then number 3 came, and it was a girl. Then number 4 came, and we had another girl. Then number 5 came, and we had another girl. So now I have gotten myself into this terrible deal to where now there are only 2 Mississippi State fans in my house and 5 Auburn fans.
Well, that's about the going ratio these days.
I guess, but it was the worst deal I ever made.
Well, I see you with the 5 now, and there are some days where, let's face it, when you have 5 kids, it's like a petri dish in the house, right? People get sick, people get colds. There's always somebody dealing with something
Crazy.
And Jordan Lee, I remember it might have been a year ago. Jordan Lee was sick, just flu or something. And believe it or not, a year ago, people were getting flu. I know it's hard to believe.
I know,
but you're coming out of the church and you've got one under this arm, one under this arm, one's holding onto your leg, and you're walking out to the van. And I was like, that's Mr. Mom today. Some days it's like that. I mean, you and Jordan have this crazy ability to balance 5 kids and have this balanced life on top of being a senior pastor, where your time is pulled on greatly. Talk about how you balance all that, how you manage all that.
Yeah. Somebody told me a long time ago to not seek balance, but seek rhythms. And we have found that super helpful. So we will go through rhythms. Maybe, we'll have a few people in our church family pass away back to back to back. And so I'm going to be at their home and spending a lot of time with them, doing funerals, trying to care for them. And so we may go through a week or 2 rhythm where I'm gone a lot. Well, then we'll move into another rhythm to where I'm going to be super present. And so it's not easy, but for us, it really begins with trying to have at least one day a week to where it is us 7 spending time. Maybe it's going somewhere. Maybe it's, driving up to Birmingham to Let's Play. Maybe it's going to a ball game or whatever, but we're spending time together. But a lot of what we do is we just try to do it together. So before COVID, when I had to make hospital visits, I would take some of my kids with me. When Jordan Lee and I have people in our home and spend time with them, and our kids are part of that. And so we always try to end our night with family worship as a family, reading the Bible, singing together, praying together. And so we really, I don't know that we have a good balance, but I just kind of live under the rule. And thankfully, because we have an incredible church and an incredible staff and lots of supportive people, I'm able to say, you know what, First Baptist Prattville can find another pastor probably way better than me, could preach better than me, lead better than me, love people better than me. But Harper Zane, Elliot Wren, Anne Marie, they've got one dad, and Jordan Lee's got one husband. And so I'm gonna prioritize them. So I coach my kids' sports. I coach softball this year, coach baseball this year. I'm not great at either one, but it forces me to have time with them. And when someone needs something from me, I say I got another commitment. And so I would say that we try to go through rhythms to where we really press in, and then we have rhythms where we as a family realize that I'm going to be absent a little bit more. But after a long season of that, then we'll go through another season where I really try to press in. Yeah. And my wife, by far, is my most helpful ally in that.
Absolutely. It takes a team to make that happen. The whole rhythms thing. That's good. I'm going to use that. You hope you don't mind.
No, I stole it from somebody else. I don't even know who it is. I will say this, Will. I think I am very freed up because we have a great staff. But I also realize that in the end, there are just some things that I don't have to do. Not everything from heaven's got my name on it. And so I'm not super gifted in every area. And so if there's something that I can lean on somebody else on our staff or another leader in our church to do, I do it, because in the end, I've got limited time with my kids, and I want to make sure that I make the most of it. And I want my kids to grow up and not once to ever have to say, Dad really chose the church over us a lot.
Yeah.
Our older 2 kids come to our church often. Sometimes it's once a week, but sometimes they miss a week, and they'll come and they'll serve all day. And they'll help set up Sunday school rooms. They'll help pick up things. And I just bring them with me. And I think that helps them to love our church and helps our staff to see them and our church folks to see them and realize I do have a family and they're my first priority. You know, First Timothy and Titus give the qualifications for our pastor, elder, and both of them speak about managing your household. So if I can't lead my wife and kids well, I can't be a pastor anyway. So,
and I think that's maybe why preachers' kids get such a bad reputation. Is why people say, "Oh, that's a preacher's kid. You know, that's going to be trouble."
Sure.
I think it's so many times it's just what you said. They feel like Dad chose me over the church, and
Sure.
so they rebel.
Yeah.
And that's not your case.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, by God's grace, not yet. I mean, I will say that so a couple things that we have just learned from mentors is we never speak disparagingly about our church in front of our kids. All they hear is roses and happiness. And thankfully, that's most of what we share in our home, but always what we share with our kids. I think number two, I very rarely play this card, but like, for example, you just, joked about PKs, preacher kids. You're exactly right. But if my kids were here, I would say, hey, Will, we don't use that language. Or because, like, for example, it happened a couple of months ago. There was somebody well-meaning, a friend of mine at our church made a joke about one of my kids playing with his kids and called my kid a preacher's kid. And we were laughing, we were joking, we were talking about sports. And right then and there, I got serious and said, don't ever say that to my kid again. Just because I want my kid to see me defending her to even my friends in the church. And so our kid, we don't use that language. We try to normalize our life. Like we're not, daddy's not special. Sure, we got to eat and people know me, but like daddy's not special. And I very rarely, I try not to be rude with people, but if I am out to eat, I speak to others. But if I feel like my time's getting hijacked, I'll say, hey, this is actually a really special night for my kids because they made good grades or they cleaned their room or whatever. And I told them I'd bring them out to eat. And so I really need to get back to them. And I've tried to do that, not too much because then you're a jerk, but I try to do it enough to where my kids see it and they're like, okay, Dad really is trying to put us first. I don't know if I do it well, but I try.
But the other jerk side of that coin is people don't realize that you do have a family, that they have to be a priority.
Yeah.
And there will be people that try to just monopolize that time.
Yeah.
And if I ever did that, I'm sorry. I try not to ever do that because I understand what you're doing, what you're doing. But man, it's hard. It really is hard when you're trying to do that and not offend, and at the same time do what you have to do.
Yeah, thankfully though, most people get it, and my kids get it too. So, like for example, so we love the Prattville Lions. We go to every home game since we've been here, 4 seasons. We're reading on the team, love Prattville Lions. We memorize the numbers and the jerseys. My kids love coming to the games. They love watching the band. They love the whole thing. But while we're there, we see dozens of our church people. And so my kids are having a blast. Plus, I'm getting to talk to church people. Right. And so, like, it's a win-win. So most situations are like that. So our kids very rarely feel that pull of, man, people are trying to steal my dad from me. And again, this is just because we have a great church and a great community. People generally don't try to steal me away. They'll say, hey, I know you're with your family. Just wanted to say hey.
Yeah.
And I love that and appreciate that. And so...
See, I see. I'm like, I know he's with his family, so I'm not going to speak anyway. Not that I would have to begin with.
Yeah, I know. I see that out of you sometimes.
Well, you're doing something right now at First Baptist that is really, really unusual. Something that I don't know if has ever been done in our church, or in the region. You've actually written a church-wide Sunday school curriculum called The Unfolding Story. And so, what camera did I point this at, Stacy? That one right there. The Unfolding Story is a year-long chronological read through the Bible that the entire church is going to do together, and you and your staff have written this material.
Sure, yeah. Man, we're so pumped. About a year ago, well, not quite a year ago, so around Christmas of 2021, I was completing a reading through the Bible and just kind of came under the conviction that having read some statistics and just having heard some others speak about Bible illiteracy, meaning that more and more and more are our people illiterate when it comes to the Bible, They don't know the books of the Bible. They don't know the storyline of the Bible. They don't know the themes of the Bible and the theology of the Bible, that we need to be exposed to the Bible. So the very first staff meeting of 2022, I kind of laid out to the staff, hey, this is what I want us to do. Took us several weeks and months of prayer to think through kind of what we want to call it. And so the unfolding story taken from Psalm 119, that the Bible really is God's revelation of himself to us about his son, Jesus. It's a progressively revealed story, which means that it unfolds over time. And then we just started talking about, okay, if we want our people to really grow in health and maturity, what are the things that they need to do, and how can we help them? So first, they need to read through the whole Bible. So we looked and we found a Bible reading plan that would be chronological. So not just Genesis through Revelation, but sometimes skipping around, because a lot of people miss kind of they're not able to tell you the story of the Bible. They know that Adam and Eve and David and Goliath and Paul and Peter and John, and they know about.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. You know, they know about Jonah, they know about Hosea, but they don't know how it all fits together. Right. So let's put out this plan. Well, then we know that there are several Bible help podcasts, and so the staff and I began to think, man, what if we did our own podcast? So we've got a new podcast you can subscribe to, the Unfolding Story Podcast. It officially launches on January 1 to coincide with the Bible reading. It's a daily 4 to 6 minute podcast in which I'm sharing a little about the day's reading. Maybe it's a summary of the day's passage. Maybe it's a takeaway from the day's passage. Maybe it's taking one paragraph of the day's passage. It's really hard to understand and interpret and explaining it, but always in each podcast showing how the text points to Jesus Christ. And so, we've already started recording those. Excited for those. There's a teaser available right now.
So you can go ahead and subscribe right now and be ready once they drop. That's
right, because if you subscribe right now, there's already a teaser episode. We've got a couple bonus episodes coming out in December, and then January 1, they start dropping daily. And then, we put out those journals that you got right there that are going to not only provide you the daily Bible reading plan, but also give you a Sunday by Sunday guide, so that our Sunday school classes are walking through the same narrative in the scriptures that I'll be preaching through. The Sunday school material has been written primarily by our discipleship pastor, John Johnson.
Oh,
and
you didn't.
I know, man. John
snuck that one on me.
Yeah, no, John's a brilliant scholar,
yes, he is.
And brought a team of folks around him that have helped him. And so from babies all the way through our oldest classes, we're all going to be using that material. Then as we enter into the worship gathering, you've already got a page of notes there, and then also you already know the title and the text I'm preaching on. And then later in December, we had a very gifted Bible teacher and author in our church, Allison Wilkes, who worked tirelessly for months to write a family guide, which is going to help families read the scripture and to be able to explain it to their children as they walk through the Bible this year. And those are going to be available in December. So a lot of effort, a lot of work, but there's one reason, because we want to expose our people to the Bible, because we believe that it's Bible immersion that brings forth health and growth in the church. And, as our culture continues to shift, and as there are questions about who God is and what he's like and what he requires of us, we want to be crystal clear that at First Baptist Prattville, there's a lot of things we can be about, but the one thing we're going to be about is the Bible.
Amen to that. Amen. And, in recent polls show that, and even amongst evangelical churches, you shared this with us, that there are folks that think that God could still learn something.
Yeah, which is scary, because he can't.
Very scary.
Yeah.
Very scary.
He's omniscient. He already knows everything.
Right. So why not put this out there and put this out for everybody to do? And what I don't understand is why you're charging $5 per journal on this.
They're free.
They're absolutely
Yeah.
free. Absolutely free. People say, well, churches write their own stuff so they can make money off of it. No, this is free.
Yeah, this is free. This is, I mean, the generosity of our church provides this. We're excited because we think it will be helpful for our church, but also anyone from our community that wants to join in. And whether you have a journal or not, even if you're listening and you're far away, go to theunfoldingstory.org, theunfoldingstory.org. The Bible reading plan's there. The podcast will be found there. Resources, materials will be found there. And each week, a link to our sermons will be found there so that you can follow along with us.
We'll also put a link to that in our show notes from this episode, so you can find it there if you're listening to this episode.
Yeah, I think the $5 was what he's selling bootleg.
Yeah,
content.
there you go.
You'd get about 10 of them.
Yeah, I hope I get a little cut off the top.
Oh man, well, it's been really fun talking to you today. I mean, just getting to know you over the last 3 years has been a real pleasure for me and my family. Yeah. You're an example to so many people of what a family man and a man who follows Christ really looks like. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate the work you're doing, and keep on going. And when you see me not talking to you on the street, it's not because I'm being rude. It's because I know it's your family.
Man, well, hey, I appreciate you, Will, and thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. Love Prattville, love our community, and I think one of my family's favorite parts of being here, or me being the pastor at First Baptist Prattville, is that instantly we were welcomed with open arms into this community. And yeah, we love the Lions and love this preferred community, and excited to see what the Lord's going to do in the years to come.
And I meant to mention this earlier. You actually came to Prattville not from Mississippi, but from Grove City, Ohio.
Yeah,
and that was
right.
And you were there for how many years?
Over 6.
What was that a culture shock going that far?
Yeah,
coming
sure.
Back down?
So yes. So Grove City is a suburb of Columbus. So our church was less than 5 miles from the shoe where the Buckeyes play.
Buckeyes.
And yeah,
that's almost as bad as Bammers.
Yeah. Well, that's true. So it was definitely a culture shock when we moved there. The winters are horrible. The people are amazing, but they're different. Mm-hmm. The food's different. Everything about life there was different. But to be honest with you, moving back here has been equally as shocking, because we thought, my wife's from Auburn, I'm from Mississippi, moving back down south, we got this. And you don't realize how much you changed after being exposed to a new culture,
Sure.
a new city for so long. And all, 4 of our 5 kids were born there, and our older 2 have lived in Ohio longer than they lived here. And so there are things that are different. And so it's funny how culture shock works both ways, but we're glad to be back in Alabama and love it here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. And what might also be shocking to you is what's about to happen next, Peyton. We're about to go into the section of our podcast that we call Poetic Justice. That's led by a member of our church, the great poet laureate Chip Powell.
Oh man,
and his partner Lewis Mills.
Chip and Lewis. Oh boy,
you probably didn't know this because they keep it on the down low, but these are poet laureates and just brilliant minds when it comes to English and British and just literature from the 1500s all the way to current day. So you're going to be really entertained by this.
I can't wait.
Welcome to another episode of Poetic Justice. I'm your host, Chip Powell, co-host Lewis Mills. Lewis, it's been a while since we've been together, man. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Man, you've been traveling, been working. I know this is a tough time at Larry Puckett Tire Engineers, but I know you still got time to, concentrate a little of your time to your love of poetry, and that's what we're here about today. You and I had a small chance to talk about what we're going to do today, and kind of in line with the times, hunting season starting, and also Thanksgiving and I could only think of the Song of Hiawatha.
Hiawatha.
Yeah, and I know that's one of your favorite, poets from the 17th century. Old Longfellow. We call him Longfellow, but his full name is Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. 1855, man, he wrote this. This is way before your time.
Way before my time.
But listen, this poem's over 200 lines, and I know you know that. And I don't know, Lewis, you can still quote it all, but I listen, I'm down to like 8 lines. I mean, just 8 lines that I can still quote for you, and I'm gonna try to do that. Hey, listen, my memory's fading on this magnificent delicacy of a poem, but I'll go ahead and try it from here. All right. There are longings, yearnings, strivings for the good they comprehend not, that the feeble hands and helpless, groping blindly in the darkness, touch God's right hand in that darkness and are lifted up and strengthened, Listen to this simple story, to this song of Hiawatha. Now, for the average person out there that has no idea what all this means, and we had to interpret a little bit of it because we didn't read or quote the whole poem like I used to could do. But and I could have read the rest of it, but we just for time. But Lewis, if you would tell me what your meaning of this poem means to you.
Well, Chip, I think it's just the classic struggle between the good and the evil, and how the good and the evil thread themselves through the lives of both villains and heroes.
I couldn't have said it any better, man. It's almost like I guess you remember that from English Lit back in high school, but it's amazing what you, that's so true. Which leads me, what is the true story of Hiawatha? A lot of people don't know. Hiawatha was a legendary Mohawk chief who lived in the 16th century before European colonization of the Americas. You know, he helped find the Five Nations League, which consisted of the Mohawk, the Onondaga, Sinaga, Cayuga, and Oneida nations. You know, and you probably can't even say those names the way I said it.
No.
But I mean, that's real Native Americans. And but it leads me to really the main thing. What did you gather, Lewis, the main message of Hiawatha? What did you come up with?
It's kind of like life itself. When you work together as a whole, you can accomplish much more.
There you go, guys, ladies and gentlemen. You couldn't have said any better. It reminds me of the experience you get at Larry Puckett and Tire Engineers. Those guys all work together. You come together, you produce a great product and great service. Fantastic way, Song of Hiawatha. Join us next week. Thank you.
I will never get my time back.
Nope. Sorry.
Man, I did not know Chip and Lewis were so profound.
They are. They really are. You know, and what people don't realize is that they're just reciting that. They're not reading that. They're just reciting it.
You know,
vast knowledge.
It absolutely sounded like something that they knew from heart. Yeah.
Well, you know, as you listen to the Preferred Experience podcast, there's 16 rich episodes of poetic justice attached to each one. And
Man,
it's just
I've got to go back and check that out.
something else. Nobody's ever the same after they hear Chip quote poetry.
Well, you know, he did the Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem, which is a distant cousin of mine
Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
on the Wadsworth side.
Very distant.
Very distant. And I'm ready to disown him now.
So, well, and we close each episode with a motivational minute from Coach Donny Burnett, another person that you're very, very akin to.
Yeah.
Do we have him queued up for this week, Stacy? Well, let's go ahead and take it to Coach Donny Burnett and the motivational minute.
This is Coach Donny Burnett, and here's today's motivational minute. You want to have a great marriage, you got to put in the work. You want to be your own boss? Get off your butt and get to work. You want to be a straight A student? You got to study harder. Mm-hmm. Want to be a great athlete? You got to outwork everybody. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing you got to do is you got to keep your well pure and fill it with your dreams and your plans to achieve those dreams. You get out what you put in it, because whatever's in your well will come up in the bucket. This is Coach Donny Burnett, and that's today's motivational minute.
That was good, Donnie.
Peyton, what can you say about such men?
Man, I am just thinking what a blessing it is to be these men's pastor. I mean, I don't even know why I preach. They know so much already. It's incredible.
Now you know if there's ever a Sunday you need to pass the baton because you're going to be
That's
out.
right.
These are guys that are standing at
That's
the ready.
right. That's right.
Well, man, we really appreciate your time today. It's been an honor having you here. We're going to have you back soon. I mean, probably in the next 20 episodes, have you back on, because getting you in this room is not easy.
Nah, man, are you kidding me? This was awesome.
Well, for Pastor Peyton Hill and for the Millzer, I'm Will Barrett, and we're going to sign off. And as always, good night, God bless, and go Lions.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Man, Will, love you coming in, pinch hitting, and dude, you hit a grand slam tonight.
Well, expect nothing less from me, Daryl. I'm the best.